Morning. Maybe you all seen it. This is the green sofa, and I will speak later of it. I was hoping to put it here somewhere, but it's maybe a bit difficult. Maybe we put it here. So you probably wonder what a diplomat is doing at an energy branding conference. I actually sometimes wonder too, but this is increasingly coming, and I'm trying to explain you why and what our office is doing and seeing what we do. And maybe it fits perfectly well with what my previous speaker has just outlined, that sometimes demand is actually coming towards you more than you actually enacted. What happened to our minister was always, when our foreign minister, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, at that time went abroad, most of the things I actually prepared long time in advance. Every speaking note, every speaking point is done. And what happened on the margin is that all other foreign ministers and other ministers or heads of states were then asking, well, how is it, we have two interests. One is how do you run your dual internship, and how do you do your dual education? And the second one, what are you doing with this Energiewende? What are you doing with your energy transition? How do you manage this in a highly industrialized country to do this radical shift? So we had this demand coming from this demand. That's where we responded to see that there was actually a need, and we tried to turn it into our kind of our positive image of Germany, which we're working on. So today, renewable energy has become the #1 source of energy in Germany, and this out of a clear decision in the year 2000 to move away from fossil fuels, and in particular out of nuclear power, Germany will be nuclear free in 2022, and then from there on we will go renewables. We also are a country which is highly convinced in coordinating our actions. So we say with the climate negotiations, we believe this is a very clear success story of negotiation and climate diplomacy, and at the end this is also energy diplomacy. Therefore, we have created in our office, my division and another one, just dealing with climate diplomacy and energy diplomacy as a tool and an objective of foreign policy. You know, in the old times it was only pipelines which were transnational. Today we see that if we run the energy transition on a European level, we have increased sustainable solutions which we could not solve nationally. Therefore, we were looked into this and to conduct our energy diplomacy as a logical way to interact between states and cities and countries. If you want what my previous speaker was saying, we want to be known for green energy sustainability, but also the way we handle democratically this shift from fossil fuels into the new energy world. We also believe that it is a public diplomacy. I have put something here saying that public diplomacy is a soft power tool, and it's essential to national security. So we are not talking about in our terms on the margin of foreign policy or diplomacy. We believe it's an essential part, and if you think about still today, 30% of our energy comes from Norway, from our gas supply comes from Norway, 30% of the Netherlands, and 30% roundabout from Russia. There you can see very clearly that energy diplomacy has a clear national security part of it. We believe that at the same time, branding Germany as an Energiewende, energy transition country, will increase our soft power. We see ourselves increasingly moving towards this and having a part of our culture which is driven by our citizen going forward, that we can use it as an important diplomatic tool, and then also in branding the country. So it became we had some polls done everywhere in the world. It came out as one of the 7 topics where people were interested what Germany was doing. Therefore, it was incorporated into our overall policy on this. We also see that we are at the intersection of digital communication, public relations, and energy diplomacy. We were looking into it to see how we practically put this together between state actors non-state actors, companies, international organizations, and of course the private citizen, which are becoming increasingly possible. And therefore we believe that public diplomacy nowadays is the tool where you can interwove this. And we looked, I've tried to show this a little bit here, that with this branding and the networking part, we believe that we have to build a network all over the world of similar minding governments, non-state actors, NGOs, private companies, to look into it and to move this global energy transition, the global Energiewende forward. If you combine all this, we call it the towards the global Energiewende, and we believe that nowadays this gives us an asset, we called it here a knowledge asset transfer, which we would say that it is a product or a service shared or traded with the primary goal of transferring the knowledge. People come to Germany today asking us, how do you do this? How do you actually work? How do your former 4 big utilities moved radically, opened up, reconstructed itself? Most of them are actually split in 2 pieces, one fossil, one renewable or more modern technology. How do you actually do this process? So this is actually something you can trade or you can actually move on. We built energy partnerships with a number of countries to work with this, for example, Morocco, but also Mexico, Japan, and others, where we can discuss these issues, and by there building trust and doing the normal work as a diplomat in order improving the bilateral relations, but of course also, and this was mentioned before, also to promote, of course, German products in this area. Just to see what we're doing today, what are our channels for you. So we have 227 diplomatic missions worldwide. Nowadays they're all on the digital media, so all over we have around about 6 million followers on all our channels. I think that's important. That's one part of our network. We have developed a toolbox of energy diplomacy and branding. One of the items you just saw, I took the little baby sofa. We have the big sofa. I will come later to this, but we also published a travel guide, renewable energy in Germany. So whenever you want to hike on a windmill or a wind turbine, or you want to visit a hydropower plant or any kind of modern and energy activity, you can buy this guide, and it shows you how to contact and how to get to visit these sites. But we also have a traveling exhibition which travels in 6 different languages all over the world, showing and explaining how you can actually do an energy transition. We have a Twitter account which is linked to the sofa, and we have multiple other things to increase the networking. The networking, we try to do this nation building and this branding by networking. So we don't see us as the only model, but we want to exchange. We want to be the moderator of exchanging best practices, because we know that every country, every city has to find its own way on the Energiewende. So here you see we've been to Geneva, Tel Aviv, Moscow, or Krakow, Helsinki, Reykjavik now. We've been with our exhibition, we've been at Vasa, our embassy in Helsinki, showed it I think a month ago. So you see we're trying to reach out to a large number of people, and we have actually a flagship. Once a year we do the Berlin Energy Transition Dialogue, where 2,000 international decision makers are coming. Last year we had 30 foreign and energy ministers from all over the world visiting us and exchanging and talking about it. We have, of course, keynote speakers like Fatih Birol of the EIA, Anan Amin Arena, or also Michael Liebreich from Bloomberg. On Twitter, that we had around about 11 to 20 million impressions at that time, so you can see that this network is building. We're trying to be the moderator of acting in both digital, analog spheres, politics, business, and the non-state actors, and we will hoping that you also join us in this discussion on our sofa outside to discuss your views on the energy transition, and looking forward to combining them and discussing this in order to enlarge this network, because we believe that when we can all this do together, we are building this network, we transfer knowledge from one to each other and actually building this global energy transition, which we really need to attain our climate goals, but also in order to modernize our societies. Thank you very much.